My name is Joe Peroni, and this is the Rise Above Project. And today I have a special guest with me. This is Lily the Pug. And she is about 1 year old now. And you can see she's still crazy. Hey. She weighs about 20 pounds or so. And she walks about 2 to 3 miles per day. And she has her dog friends that she plays with on a regular basis. You can see she's very playful and affectionate. So I don't think I'm gonna be able to do the whole show like this. So we're gonna put Lily inside and then I can start the show again. But I'm going to talk about Lily during the show as well. Here's a close-up. Hey, little girl. Okay, now we're ready to start again. So this is going to be part 3 of my shows that I'm trying to do on how the misuse of screen time and technology is killing our kids. What I've noticed over the years is that no matter how much I talk about this, I try to inform people, I try to counsel people, I do therapy with people on a regular basis, I try to educate them, and sometimes, unfortunately, you have to just do a straight lecture. And you might be asking me, how is my crusade going against this excessive screen time? Well, I can tell you that I have absolutely and completely failed miserably. I don't think I have changed one parent's mind. I can stack up every piece of empirical evidence. I could talk about my own anecdotal evidence of working with young people. And by young, I mean, say, 25 and under. And we can see how this is just destroying this younger generation. And I've changed no parents' minds. The culture is what the culture is. And I haven't changed any of the young adults or kids' minds either. I mean, not one of them has overridden, let's say, their culture or their parents to say, you know, I'm seeing some red flags here. You know, maybe I should, listen to people who know, that are looking at the evidence here. Nope. Absolute failure. However, as a professional and as a human being, I don't think the information I put out or the content should be based upon its popularity. And I think that's one of the problems that we're seeing today. People are looking to get that pat on the back. They're looking to get subscribers, likes, you name it. I like that too. But I don't think it should be running your life. So I still need to put the information out there. So as we go through, I'm going to talk about how this screen time is changing children's brains. But before we get to that, I want to talk about a quick compilation of the things that I've been told by young adults. Again, 25 and under. And this has been over, let's say, the last 5 years or so. Now, as I'm talking about this, figure out for yourself if you think this is normal or that this has been a seismic shift in our culture. So, number 1, let's talk about activities and sports. I've heard from young adults, I can't play sports because I might get tired. I can't play sports because I might break a sweat. I could get hit in the head with a soccer ball and get a concussion. Soccer is a contact sport. I could die playing football. Doesn't everybody who plays football get a concussion? I can't play basketball because the basketball is too heavy. I'm too lazy for sports. I can't walk to school even though it's only 2 miles away. Now, of course, I wanted to get Lily on this program because I love Lily and I want to see her on camera, right? Because she's going to get older. But now you know why I put her in the picture to start with. Lily is a 1-year-old pug. She weighs about 20 pounds. She walks 2 to 3 miles a day. And she plays with an 80-pound chow and like a 75-pound pit bull mix. Hours per day. She gets socialized. She gets to play, run around. And again, her exercise level, when her legs, as you see, are like this short, are more than most people who are 25 and under that I see that are complaining. And some of them in high school, if they can't walk to school. The other one I heard is, I might get shot on the way there. God, okay. Ask yourself if you think there's a seismic shift in our culture. Let's talk more. Let's talk about sex. I'm afraid of people. How can I have sex? I can't talk to girls, not in person. I text them only. I'm good. I don't need to have sex with people. I have porn. And I've been watching porn since I was 8 years old. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I'm just not interested in people in general. I don't have any interest in that. Then I have people who you try to help them to get a job, seek gainful employment. This is what I've heard. Multiple people quit their jobs, even though they need the money. They quit the jobs due to being corrected by their boss. You're being paid by an employer and they correct you to do the right thing at the job that you're getting paid for, and their self-esteem is so low, or they're so narcissistic, or they're so entitled that they can walk into somebody else's place of business and they go, don't tell me what to do. What is going on? In terms of trying something new, in terms of like maybe playing an instrument, just taking up some different activity, I've heard, but I'm not good at that. You're not good at it because you never tried it. That's true. That means I'm not good at it, and so I don't want to try. Well, then how will you ever try anything? I guess I won't. That's a little disturbing, I would say. Here's a question that I have for a lot of people. And today we're talking about 25 and under. One of the questions I might have is, what or who do you want to be in your life? The number one answer I heard was, I don't know. The second most popular answer, I want to be a YouTuber. I've also run into people, again, 25 and under, that haven't showered, brushed their teeth, combed their hair, changed their socks or underwear in weeks to months at a time. Something going on here? I think so. Where are their parents? We're going to talk about the parents too in a little while. Actually, I don't know, maybe let's do it now. So over the last year or more, say 5 years, parents tell me they don't have time. There's not enough time. So they use their cell phone or they buy a phone for their kid to be a babysitter. Here's number one, right off the bat. Don't have kids if you can't raise them. If you think a cell phone is going to replace human connection and a cell phone is going to replace a mother or father, please do society a favor. Don't have kids. Get a human babysitter. But then I hear, well, we can't afford that. If you can't afford a babysitter or you can't afford to stay home to be with your child, then seek number one that I just said. Then you shouldn't have a kid then, because you can't properly raise a child. Again, going back to Lily, she eats really great food every day. She exercises every day. She gets love and attention every day. My pug gets more attention, more love, and more care than most people in this society. A little disturbing. Here's a question. What did people do before the year 2007 when the first iPhone came out? And by the way, we're talking about 2007. The iPhone then cost about $500. People are complaining that they don't have time and money, but they have $500 to not only get an iPhone for them, but they get an iPhone for their 8-year-old kid. That's a little weird too. What did they do before 2007? Well, typically people would find a way to babysit that didn't interfere with the child's natural developmental processes. That's the answer. Most of society, since going back to antiquity, didn't have a cell phone. Why are we using them as babysitters? I don't understand it. Again, over the last 5 years or so, I've been seeing increases in young adults who are addicted to screens. They're addicted to being isolated and withdrawn because people scare them. They're addicted to food because you don't have to have a social connection with it. You sit there and just eat. They're addicted to a sedentary lifestyle with no ability to nurture any type of meaningful relationship. And they're destined to have a shorter lifespan than their parents. Now, here's the most disturbing part. One of the reasons why they're destined to have a shorter lifespan than their parents is because they want to. There's an incredible increase in suicidal ideations and suicides in general of young people. So again, as I try to inform, counsel, educate, lecture, and I've gotten nobody to believe me, let's look at the evidence again, because I'm going to keep taking a swing at this. Why? Because I find it to be incredibly important. I don't care if it's incredibly popular, but it still needs to be said. Let's talk about cell phones a little bit. 20% of 8-year-old children in the United States have iPhones. What? This is why the average boy is starting to see porn by the time they're 8, 9, 10 years old. That's way far out of their developmental processes. And cell phones today, they're average about $1,000. Again, you don't have time and money, but you got $1,000 to lay out on an 8-year-old kid? 1 out of every 5 8-year-olds. What reason? You can't name one good reason for that. Continuing, 80% of 14-year-olds have cell phones or a smartphone. 80%? 4 out of 5? The people who invented this and are pushing social media and pushing this technology, their children, they don't have cell phones at 14, or certainly not 8. Most of them say that their kids can't have cell phones until they're at least 16, 17, 18. And that's only if they show the ability to have social interactions and have a lot of friends. And even then, they're not allowed to use their phones most of the time. Not at the dinner table, not as when they're bored. There's very severe restrictions on this. We should understand that the people who invented this stuff don't think cell phones are okay for younger people. And when I mean younger, here's something interesting too. 100% of people under 25 have underdeveloped brains. Think about this. Because the brain is not fully developed until you're 25. That means that with the ages that I'm talking about here, 8-year-olds with cell phones, 14-year-olds with cell phones, they're having their brain restructured by a piece of technology when their brain is for sure underdeveloped at that time. And the number of kids at that age that have undeveloped brains, 100%. Now let's look at these numbers again. Here's what we're looking at. On average, when we look at when a child gets a cell phone, up until they're 25, you're looking at 11 to 17 years of steady and complete corruption and brain damage before they get to 25 years old. That's what we're doing to these kids. Let's take a look at some empirical evidence. I'm doing this again to, in more detail, describe the problem. On another show, I don't know if it'll be next time or not because there's a lot of information here, but I'm going to use more of a prescription in order to come up with a solution for this problem, if the solution doesn't seem obvious already. Here we go, empirical evidence. Let's talk about gray matter atrophy or shrinkage. And that area of the brain, more specifically, we're talking about frontal lobe shrinkage, which governs executive functioning, it governs planning, prioritizing, organizing, and impulse control. Again, you can see how damaging this is. It also shrinks the striatum, which is involved in reward pathways and the suppression of socially unacceptable impulses. It shrinks the insula, which is involved in developing empathy, compassion, and the ability to maintain quality relationships. Now, is it just me, or are we all seeing this in a lot of people today? And not just young people too, by the way. Older people, difficulty maintaining relationships, argumentative all the time, being overly oppositional and confrontational, especially in social media. Are we seeing this? Of course we are. Let's talk about white matter atrophy and shrinkage. This leads to the loss of communication within the brain itself. The shrinkage of a cortical shrinkage, which leads to decreased intelligence, cognitive abilities, increased sensitivity to rewards, and insensitivity to loss. It's another way of saying narcissism, in a sense, because they're all about what they're going to get and when they're going to get it, instant gratification. And if there's a loss of somebody else feels pain, somebody else feels anger, frustration, kind of don't care about that. Very insensitive to other people. Have you noticed that out in society? Of course you have. You don't need to be an expert in the area to know that. You just have to be a person who's alive. Here's something I wrote over 20 years ago before social media really took over and all of these cell phones and screen time took over and parents decided to completely abdicate their responsibilities by using a mother and father as a screen. I'll just do this real quick. It's very quick. Again, I wrote this over 20 years ago, about 20 years ago, and I was talking about self-esteem in children. And I wrote, authentic high self-esteem is predicated on an individual's positive assessment of his or her competence and feelings of self-worth. To attain self-worth, an individual must live up to his or her own standards and values. An individual's sense of competency emanates from the conviction that one is capable of producing desired results on a regular basis and that our minds and bodies are capable of rightful action. All of this got turned over on its head, by the way, because that's true that that's how authentic high self-esteem should be. However, when you look at these words and it's an individual's positive assessment of his or her competence, most kids are not growing up like that. Most kids are growing up with the thought of what do my friends think on social media. They have new sneakers, I need to have some new sneakers. This person looks this way, I need to look this way. I posted something, it's not popular, so I need to change my personality. So what's happening here is they're learning contingent self-esteem. Their self-esteem is contingent on other people saying that they're okay. And the people who are saying they're okay is the lowest common denominator of human beings, most of the time. That's the way it is. That's why there's been a reduction in everything in this country, including art. If you look up the best albums or music of all time, you're going to see it predates 2000. You're going to look up, say, the top 100 movies of all time. There's probably not one movie that was made after the year 2000. And this is one of the reasons why. Is because people, again, they're losing their imagination, they're losing their creativity, they're pretentious, they're trying to play to a crowd. And let me not make this show too long, because I'm going to do other shows about this. Let me just throw the fastball right down the middle and say the truth as it is. There's so much empirical evidence here that indicates highly, and I almost want to say doesn't indicate, we could say it proves beyond the shadow of a doubt that excessive screen time causes brain damage in undeveloped brains. And we're talking about 25 and under. That's a massive age range. And we can also start taking a look at the evidence of how it affects older people as well. Because as we know, it does affect people who are older because the brain has plasticity. Here's an example. I'm not saying cell phones cause dementia. That's a bridge too far. But ask yourself this. How many phone numbers do you know off the top of your head? 1, 2? It's because you don't have to, right? You just press a button, it calls for you. Back in the day, you would be forced to memorize stuff. I don't even know if kids today, I had a great conversation with somebody the other day, they don't even teach home economics in school. They don't even teach kids to write in cursive. I don't know how they sign checks. They don't. We're stupefying this country a huge amount, day after day after day. And again, I will ring the bell as long as I need to, but I'm still looking for that first person to change their mind. So hopefully you felt that today's show was valuable in some way, and hopefully you enjoyed Lily the pug, who is running around outside. She's trying to chase the cat. I can hear that. Anyway, I hope today was valuable. My name is Joe Peroni. This is the Rise Above Project. Please subscribe and tell a friend. Thank you.